Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. We're just over a week after Night Terrors ended and DC has thought it best to start another event for the summer, and that is Batman Catwoman Gotham War, which begins with a special Battle Lines issue by Tini Howard, Chip Zdarsky and Mike Hawthorne. So Batman finishes up being in one event and immediately transitions over to this one, albeit this one is a lot smaller. There's only I think about 5 books which actually cover the entire event, which is a complete step down from Night Terror's dozens upon dozens of tie-ins which didn't end up mattering at all. And this event sees Bruce wake from his Night Terror's coma, which is really funny considering he went into the coma at the end of Night Terrors and it was written in a way where it's like, oh, what's going to happen with Batman? He's in a coma now. And this issue, which actually came out the week that Night Terrors ended, just shows that he's awake. It kind of defeats the purpose of that and sort of deflate any tension that story had, if it had any to begin with, which it really didn't. Anyway, he finds that Catwoman has rallied her people behind her and has made a play for ownership of Gotham, intending on going Robin Hood on everyone and robbing the rich and redistributing that wealth to everyone else, effectively trying to make Gotham safer and being a bit more proactive than she thinks Batman has been. It's an interesting premise, but not a wholly original one. Not to mention a war for Gotham isn't something new either, and it feels like in the last 3 or 4 years every major Batman villain has run a war on Gotham or for the control of Gotham in some way. The thing I found weird about this issue was the really obvious join between the Catwoman parts and the Batman parts. You could really tell they were written by separate writers and not really writers who were collaborating together. It's none more evident when Selina calls in the Bat family for a special meeting regarding what she's doing to take over the city and how she's going to work it. Before this part, Batman is written solely by Zdarsky, and he's rather reserved, he's precise, he's to the point, he's very in his own head, sort of taking back his life as Batman, you know, getting back out there after his coma to find his city in a little bit of chaos, and he's got to ride it and everything, so he has a mission and he plans to do it. But then when we get to this point, Tini Howard takes over and gets the chance to write Batman in the sequence, and in it he's having weird outbursts about his parents being mentioned as being rich. He's jumping to a lot of conclusions about what Selina is trying to do, and it's very unlike what we've seen him up to now. Of course, this could be in part to Bruce's arc with Zdarsky, with him having to relearn how to be an effective Batman, which is when he went to the multiverse and everything, and being somewhat emotionally compromised. But how it's portrayed feels completely different to what we've seen thus far in the Batman ongoing. So much so it feels so out of character and a way to just manufacture that extra drama between Bruce and Selina, as if there isn't a ton already there that can and should be explored in their relationship. There are hints at some really cool things happening here, like Riddler seemingly wanting to team with Batman against what Selina is up to, as well as a lot of the family seemingly agreeing with what Selina is promising. None more so than Red Hood, who really is just there to kind of stoke the flames, because of course Jason Todd would team with Selina and want to actively be part of what she has in store for the city. So it makes sense for him to be sort of the antagonist, if you will, to Bruce and stir shit up between Bruce, Selina and the family. The final sequence involving one of these thieves Selina has coaxed onto her crew getting shot for robbing a home was probably the best portion of the book, as it allowed Zdarsky, and it was very clearly Zdarsky writing this portion, to go back to the work he's been doing with the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh, and this man's death, which is very much seen as Selina's fault in Batman's eyes, ends up reawakening Zur-En-Arrh in Batman, and it looks like Zur-En-Arrh actually ends up coming out there at the end. Batman's entire arc so far has him believing to be the only one capable of making right choices in Gotham, or for Gotham, which is an interesting direction, yet after an arc where Bruce has been pulled down and built back up as the quote-unquote better Batman, it just feels a little regressive and they are taking a step backwards. Not to mention that Bruce had a whole story of him locking Zur-En-Arrh back up after he got out the first time, yet now he's just out again so soon, especially after we had that issue where it saw Bruce dive into his own mind and we saw Zur-En-Arrh was locked behind bars, and he did mention that he will come out at some point, but it just feels so early, especially since that's literally the next story. There's just so many cool ideas, because that is a very cool idea with Zur-En-Arrh vying for control over Bruce and Bruce not really being able to trust his own mind. And it's a really cool idea, but it's just marred by strange plot choices and two writers each trying to tell their side of the story and it having no real cohesion and melding together in a place that's coherent and makes sense for both characters, since it can absolutely be done in a story like this. Gotham War Battle Lines issue 1 was a real mixed bag, with both writers seemingly not being on the same page of where both characters are in their respective stories or how they should be acting. It's a cool premise, but thanks to all of this back and forth on how characters are portrayed and how things are sort of progressing in the storyline, it's all a little over the place, and it's probably because there are too many characters. If this was just a Bruce and Selina storyline without their respective families, I think it probably could have been a bit more focused, a bit more coherent, but it's not, since now it's involving all of the Bat family and all of Selina's cast from her book, and it's just a little bit too much bloat. I'm going to give this issue a 5 out of 10.